Swipe Up, episode 242, the podcast where I share my unfiltered thoughts on the latest news and entertainment updates. I am your host, Ray Taylor. SpaceX launch covers whole city in debris, and residents are furious. And because it's Texas, I'm sure SpaceX will not be held liable for any of it. You know, because if you think about companies destroying the environment, that's exactly what Republicans want companies to be able to do. They want companies to fail in literally every way and financially give them a way out, bail them out with the taxpayer money. They want to make sure those companies are funded by subsidies by the taxpayer money, right? These companies receiving handouts, SpaceX, a huge recipient of free government handouts, right? Far more than like people that want to eat or get health care or any of those things to actually live a better life, but then the government throws away all kinds of money giving these major corporations subsidies. And when all these major corporations fail or the banks fail, then they use these socialist programs and give taxpayer money to all these failed businesses. It's amazing how much handouts are given to the wealthiest people in the world. And meanwhile, everybody who's struggling to survive is demonized for asking for help. Demonized. Yet absolutely no problem with all of these major corporations being given free money. Free money. Even when they fail, they don't even have to be good companies. Imagine that. Imagine being a person and you go in massive debt and you can't pay it off, right? You made a lot of bad decisions. You maxed out 20 credit cards, right? You lost your job. You can't pay your mortgage. And then imagine the government coming in and paying all that stuff off. That's what happens to major corporations. That's what happens to banks. That's what happens to all of the companies, like so many companies during 2008, during the collapse of 2008, right? Because Bush deregulated all kinds of securities from the banks that Trump then did, right? The recent SpaceX Starship launch failure caused unforeseen environmental damage to Port Isabel, Texas. Residents described the event as truly terrifying and on a different level from previous launches. Like, this is even worse than the other times the rockets blew up. The launch resulted in a cloud of thick, granular debris landing on everything in the area. Bowling ball-sized pieces of concrete were reported, and a large crater was formed. Environmental experts believe the impact modeling was inadequate, and SpaceX failed to implement measures to dampen the rocket's flame impact. It's great. Concerns about the environmental risks were previously raised, and the FAA approved the launch despite delays for investigation. Because, you know, Republicans love deregulation, and they've done so much to deregulate everything. And when so many things are deregulated and they cut budgets of these organizations that are meant to regulate this stuff, they can't, or they're easily compromised, right? Easily compromised. Little backdoor money funneling going on, you know? In the same way you look at certain states like Florida or like New York, where there's buildings that were made not to code, where it's just some people got paid off, so things, and now we're seeing just buildings fall out of nowhere. You know, the dust cloud that fell in Port Isabel challenges the FAA's assessment. Obviously, oops, maybe you should have known that, right? Oh, a building fell down for no reason. I wonder if that was built to code. Who was in charge of inspecting that building before they put it up? This was the first orbital launch attempt of SpaceX's Starship, which ended in an explosion. SpaceX has faced setbacks before, such as the 2015 Falcon 9 rocket explosion. SpaceX, founded by Elon Musk, is ambitious in private space exploration, but environmental impacts must not be overlooked. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't care. Elon Musk could care less. He goes where he can get government subsidies. SpaceX, one of the companies that he runs that has gotten so much government subsidies. And not a company that he started, by the way. He may be considered a founder, but he's not a rocket scientist. Right? He came from money and was able to invest that money in businesses successfully. Then he started gaining popularity, right? Started becoming somewhat of a celebrity, and then started using that celebrity to play around with the stock prices. Some may say manipulate, but definitely he has an impact. His actions have direct impact on stock prices because he tends to be the face of these companies. Tesla, not always for good, but sometimes when the stock prices drop, it means that people can buy those stocks for a lot less. It's kind of a buying opportunity. So if they were to know, let's say, that Elon Musk was going to go on Joe Rogan's podcast and smoke weed, and that maybe that would negatively impact a stock price, if he had known that, if he was like really rocket scientist and knew that might happen, then he could sell a bunch of that stock when the price is high, and then after he goes on Rogan's podcast and smokes some weed and it's a big popular thing, and then the stock price went down because he smoked weed, it's like, well, then he could just use all the money that he made from selling the stock when it was way up here and now buy it way down here, right? That would be a situation in which, just a theoretical way in which many times there's been instances of Elon Musk doing or saying things that have drastically impacted stock prices. So, maybe everybody says he's a smart guy. Maybe he is a smart guy. Maybe he intended on, making those stock prices take the direction that they take. I don't know. I'm really tired of people complaining about everyday people asking for government handouts and complaining about nobody should get government meanwhile they have no concept of the billionaires who regularly get government handouts, these corporations that literally fail getting government handouts, that these corporations that only exist because of government subsidies, government handouts. But their big problem is poor kids getting lunch at school. Their problem is people having access to a public place like a library where they have access to things that maybe they can't afford, because when you're really poor, you can't afford to buy smartphones and computers and have internet. Sometimes you just struggle to put food on the table. Sometimes you have to make a choice whether you have electricity or not. Right? People don't have any concept of what it's like to live in this country with no money. They think that being poor is some vacation. People who grow up on government subsidies are living the life of luxury. Meanwhile, you have literal billionaires getting handouts. People that have no need for government money getting government money the easiest, and allowed to fail, constantly fail. Imagine if we had that kind of protection for regular people, where regular people, don't worry. You made some bad moves. You went on a shopping spree with that credit card. You signed up for some predatory school loan, and now you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Don't worry, because what it would take for us to help you out, even the vast majority of people that have those issues, is a fraction, to what the government gives out to all of these failed billionaires and millionaires and corporations. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, sources for that, giantfreakinrobot.com. Only the best websites, only the best sources for this. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Swipe Up. I don't care if you don't like what I say. It's not my job to tell you what you want to hear. It's your job as a human being to move on if you don't like it. And the worst thing you can do if you don't like what I'm saying is to comment, to interact at all. Because your interaction only tells the algorithm that people want to hear more. And let me tell you, all of the hate that I get for this episode that I do every week gets so much hate. And it's one of the only reasons I still do it. I don't really care about, what's going on in the world is horrible enough. It kind of gives me an outlet to talk shit about stuff, things that I would have put on Twitter before Elon Musk ruined Twitter, because that's what Elon Musk is really good at doing, is ruining things these days. So it gives me that kind of an outlet, but then all the hate that comes on YouTube, it is laughable. All these people. But for those that aren't the haters that love to just cry, these fragile little snowflake conservatives just crying in my comments, struggling to spell words correctly, struggling to form complete sentences. These people and then some people with so much time on their hands that they will write multiple paragraphs, like 10 paragraphs, which I never read. And sometimes when I see the very long replies, I just delete them off of YouTube because I have that control, because it's my YouTube channel. And it makes me feel so good to know that I just wasted your time. Because you're trying to waste my time like I care. Great. Please join the conversation if you feel. Try and be positive. Every once in a while there's positivity, but usually it's the hate. You can do that over on YouTube. I really should just take this off. Just don't interact. Until then, regardless, if you comment, you interact, you hate, you block, you thumbs down, whatever you do, I'll see you next Thursday for more of this. Fresh perspective and unfiltered opinions.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.